In his first interview since entering the White House, President Trump says he's open to torture and waterboarding, even though U.S. law prohibits it. And his defense and CIA chiefs, as well as GOP lawmakers like John McCain, oppose it. My next guest is a psychologist. He's a former Air Force member. He developed and conducted enhanced interrogation techniques for the CIA after the 9/11 attacks. He personally interrogated 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. He's also the author of the book Enhanced Interrogation. We welcome author James Mitchell. He joins me now. Thank you so much for coming on the show, James. Does it work?
Well, I wouldn't call it torture because torture is illegal, but EITs worked.
Did it work in tracking down Osama bin Laden?
It had a key role in it. If you read the pushback that the CIA provided to the Senate, to Feinstein's Senate committee, when she said that it had no role in tracking down bin Laden, they provided 5 or 6 examples where it had a direct role in doing that. And some of those interrogations I conducted myself.
Did you waterboard Khalid Sheikh Mohammed?
I did, every time he was waterboarded.
And other enhanced interrogation techniques?
I used the ones that were authorized. I didn't use all of them because some of them I didn't see as particularly effective and we didn't need to use.
John, again, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, I was going to say that everything that we did had been authorized by the Justice Department, deemed legal, not once but 4 or 5 times before they were used. And they were carefully monitored and applied by name for specific terrorists before they were applied. So I think EITs work, but I would encourage people not to use torture. That's illegal. It's been illegal, and I would encourage people to do nothing that was illegal.
So waterboarding is not considered EIT, is that it?
No, waterboarding was considered an EIT at that time, and it was judged by the Justice Department to be legal if it was done within the constraints of the way the Justice Department approved it.
Understood.
You could have done it if you could have done it in a way that it was horrific, but it wasn't done that way.
It's not at that time. It was not considered torture. That's what I meant to say, right?
Right. Otherwise, Senator McCain and Senator Feinstein wouldn't have had to pass a law in 2015 outlawing anything except the Army Field Manual for the use by the intelligence agencies. Torture has been illegal for decades, so they wouldn't have had to pass a new law if it was already illegal.
Is President Trump correct?
In what respect?
In other words, that we should bring back waterboarding in order to keep the country safe.
I don't know about waterboarding. Here's my concern. My concern is that right now we're restricted to the Army Field Manual. And my problem with the Army Field Manual is, number one, that what we have to do is we have to publish it. So we tell the terrorists that they can go on the internet and download the methods that we are going to use to question them. Not only the methods by name, but why and how we think they're going to work. The other thing that the Army Field Manual...
Why is that published like that, sir?
I think it's nuts. The other thing that Senator McCain and Senator Feinstein made sure that we did was we let the terrorists know that we're only seeking voluntary statements. Now, I mean, our defense of our country to prevent the next catastrophic attack is going to depend on what some terrorist volunteers to tell us. Right. And that's what we're going to settle for.
Sir, how many... Yeah, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was going to say somewhere between waterboarding and worse and the Army Field Manual, there should be some legal, and let me underline that, legal form of pressure or coercion. And it doesn't matter to me whether it's psychological or physical, because I think you could do that in a way that doesn't constitute torture if you chose to look at it very carefully. But I'm not arguing that we need to bring back the EITs. I'm arguing that we need to quit telling the terrorists that we'll accept voluntary statements and telegraphing to them exactly how we're going to question them. How
many catastrophic terror attacks were prevented via enhanced interrogation techniques?
Well, there was the Hambali attack. Hambali was a guy who had planned to have another second wave of attacks that were going to occur in Los Angeles, Seattle, and Chicago. They were going to crash planes into the tallest buildings in those 3 states. And he already had people on the ground, and he was training the muscle because he knew that they were going to have to overcome the passengers because of what happened during 9/11. And they were getting ready to train the pilots. And they were going to use Asians instead of Arabs Arabs because they knew we'd be on the lookout for Arabs. And when President Bush decided to not treat it like a law enforcement matter and to invade Afghanistan
right.
and go after al-Qaeda, then it slowed that down. But after that, we started catching them, and eventually we caught all of them eventually and completely disrupted that attack.
Wow, that's
and
something.
EITs played a heavy role in that.
And James, quickly, we're running out of time. How long did it take to break Khalid Sheikh Mohammed?
We wouldn't use the word break, but he actually only had 21 days of enhanced interrogation. He was in CIA custody before Bush turned him over to Gitmo for 1,285 days. Of that 21 days, that's 3 weeks, he was given enhanced interrogation. After that, there was another 170 weeks where he cooperated, more or less. He tried to lie at times, but more or less cooperated.
All right. Thank you, James Mitchell. Please come back on the show. You're terrific. We love having you on.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
expertise and your time and your service to our country. Thank you.